Joe Rogan one I really want to watch. So the Joe Rogan show, and he's got this guy, Tom Segura, and they're talking about student loan debt in the school system. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Joe Rogan. He's got a big podcast on Spotify. He got $100 million for that podcast for Spotify.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, and then he's been in trouble a lot for COVID misinformation, vaccine and misinformation, and then transgender misinformation, gay and lesbian rights shit. I mean, he's kind of a meathead, and he has a lot of conservative people on his show that he platforms. But him and this guy, they're going to talk about student loan debt. They're going to take a break from telling you not to wear masks or get vaccinated, and that trans people are not real, to telling you about your student loans. Let's listen to some genius. Lay it on me.
It also reminds me of this, and I know this will be unpopular for a lot of people to hear, but the idea of forgiving student loans, it's a fantastic theory. But one thing that nobody considers, who is a huge advocate of that, is, okay, so somebody owns that debt. That debt is owned. So are you saying, when you say forgive, who are you saying are you saying that the government?
Yes, we're saying the government will forgive it. I like this. So I'm an advocate for forgiving student loans completely and going back to the old system in the 70s where we just paid for college, for most of public college, right?
Right.
Back, like, this guy's a fucking Gen Xer, an older Gen Xer. Most of his college was paid for by the government, by tax dollars, right? But now he's bitching about student loans, and he's like, well, nobody who's an advocate for it thinks of, well, who pays for that? Who pays for that? Well, let me explain. As an advocate for it, here's how it works. Okay? We've done this before, and I'm going to do it again. We need Grogu. Here we go. Okay, so Grogu.
Okay.
Grogu applies for a student loan, right? And Lacey's the government. So he applies for it. It's got to go through, but Lacey can't handle the loans because that's expensive. It costs a lot of money to do that. So what does she do? She outsources it to me, and an intermediary to handle the loans, a loan service provider, like, I don't know, Navient or Mohila, right? So he applies through me. I send it to you. You approve it. I get him back. I say, hey, Grogu, you got your loan. Good stuff. So he gets his $100 loan. Now, where does the money come from? Lacey, who's the federal government, does not fund it with cash. What she does is she issues debt in the form of treasuries to pay for these loans at interest. Right? So she's got to pay that debt back at interest. Then she gives me the money. I give it to Grogu. Grogu goes to college, blah, blah, blah. And then Grogu starts paying back some of the loans. Well, what happens is Grogu then pays me some money every month, the intermediary, right, the loan service provider, and then I give some of the money to Lacey after I charge her for all my servicing fees. And then Lacey takes that money, and then she's got to pay it back at interest. And what we found, and we talked about this multiple times, is Lacey is losing money every year doing this. So for the $100 she gave him, by the time she gets it all back, she's probably only getting back like $60. And furthermore, it's not just Grogu. It's millions of kids every year going to college. And they're not borrowing $100. They're borrowing tens of thousands. So Lacey's paying all this debt all the time. So she's already fucking in the hole every year on this account. Right? Or she could just take that money instead of issuing the debt and just pay for the college. Right? And then what would happen is these kids wouldn't owe all this money. They'd have more money. which would go back into the economy like it did in the 80s and 90s during the largest boom, economic boom, and a special middle class boom this country's ever seen.
Right.
Right? And it would make her, the government, more money because she'd be getting more revenue and taxes. So, sorry, Tom, I have thought about this. And I've actually fucking read up on it too. So don't sit there and say we never think about this. This is like two guys who are stoned talking at a bar. I mean, like, nobody thinks about, like, oh, my hand. I mean, my hands can touch everything but themselves. Oh, wait. These guys are freaking morons. I love it. I'm sorry. It's going to take us a while to get through this one. Sorry, everybody.
We'll just pay all of that debt. Do you have an idea the amount of debt that is? Somebody owns the debt. So if you go forgive the debt, to what degree? Like, are you just saying erase it? It doesn't just disappear. The debt is owned.
Right.
So,
well, he's wrong on that one. The government owns the debt, but once again, what we're talking about is the debt grows and grows and grows every year, and the government loses money on it every year. So right now, it's just a big money pit. The other thing about it is under Bush, you had to fully pay for all that shit ahead of time. You couldn't do long-term debt on that. So student loans, already all paid for. Your tax dollars have already paid for all that. That 1.7 trillion already paid. So forgiving the debt is not going to hurt the balance sheet. It's not even going to affect the balance sheet because it's already been factored in as a loss on the balance sheet.
Right.
So, I mean, but we never think about it. He's thought about it. We didn't think about it. Thanks, Tom.
Apparently.
Hey, just pay it. Who are you saying will pay it? In taxes?
Right, everybody's going
to pay
that.
Right, so the debt just doesn't get erased, is my point.
But there is a bizarre issue with student
It's
loan.
already paid, though. It's gone. The money's already gone. It's already out the door.
Loan debt. That student loan debt is the only debt that you can't declare bankruptcy.
Yeah, that part is...
That's crazy.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, you can declare bankruptcy under certain circumstances, but... But when you say forgive it, it's not just... Like, I think a lot of people say that and they go, I just don't want to pay this. Yeah, of course, I understand that.
Yeah.
But you realize that somebody has to pay it. It doesn't just go into the sky.
Right.
Somebody owns that debt. No, it's paid. The government does own it, but the government loses money. I mean... But you see, they're stuck in a cycle now, right? Where because they have to get back to this, because this is the point I think they're trying to make. Once again, we haven't seen this, ladies and gentlemen. We're just first time watching. But here's the point they're trying to get to: is it's not fair to me to pay your debt.
Right.
What they don't understand is how taxes work. I don't have kids. Do you have kids, Lacey? Nope. Why are we paying taxes for public schools? Why are we paying for other people's kids to go to school? That's not fucking fair. You know, we're both city people. We don't drive. Why am I paying for the roads? Why am I paying for safety regulations on your cars? Why am I paying for all that? You pay for that. Taxes are communal money. You pay for other people. That's what taxes are. That's how society works.
Right.
Is we pay for each other. Right? This whole independent, well, I'm just going to pay for myself. Fucking then go live in a log cabin in the woods with no plumbing and no electricity. And good luck building that cabin because you're going to need tools to do it, which means somebody had to manufacture them somewhere, which means we paid taxes to help build the manufacturing facilities and all that shit and the shipping and all that. I mean, they're just stupid. I mean, you have any like, you know?
No. I mean, seriously, we're all paying for things that we don't use, essentially. We all are.
Yeah.
It doesn't make him super special to be paying for something that he doesn't use, because any taxpayer in the entire country can probably cite at least one thing they're paying for they're not using.
They're not, well, and especially everybody could name something they're not happy about that they're paying taxes for.
Oh, right. I'm paying for this thing that I don't support. I'm paying for this thing that I don't use. I'm paying for this thing that I think shouldn't exist. Right.
Yeah, no
Everybody
shit.
can say something like that.
Yeah. But these are a couple of rich white guys. But they've thought it through, Lace. They've thought it through.
So who's going to pay it? If you say that the government will forgive student loans, I mean, that amount has to be in like the trillions.
I wonder what it is. Let's find out.
1.7.
What's the collective student loan debt in the United States as of 20?
I do know there is a differentiation in this conversation that it's federal student loan debt, not private student loan debt, which is a big difference.
Okay.
That's companies that do own that debt versus like the government that granted.
So this is just
Pell Grants
federal
and stuff like that.
Federal
I'm
student loans.
pretty sure of that.
Okay, so there's two different types of loan debt.
Oh, okay, wait. So they just figured out that private companies aren't forgiving the debt. Of course not. That's how they make their money.
Right, like they didn't even know what student loan debt they were talking about?
It's federal. The federal government? Who are we talking about? Who?
Right, like they're so worried about who's holding the bag, they don't even know what loans they're talking about.
But they've thought this through. Because we didn't think it through. As people that are advocates, we didn't think it through. They thought this through. Jesus Christ.
It makes me wonder what on God's green earth they think they were thinking through.
Your generation is so fucking stupid, I gotta tell you. You guys are all a bunch of idiots. All you have is Keanu Reeves. That's all you have. That's it. That's all you got. Winona Ryder.
So I'd want to know what it is compared to the military-industrial complex budget.
Oh yeah, right.
Nothing
That
compared to
budget
the
is-
That's a
military.
budget, boy. They
Uh,
accidentally paid an extra $6 billion to
Americans-
Ukraine. They're like, whoops.
Whoopsie.
See this
Typo.
with this statement. I don't know if this is differentiating that either. It says it's 1.78 trillion in student loan debt.
That's
a
about
lot,
right.
dude.
Yep.
To the US.
That's more than people owe on any other type of debt in the U.S. except for mortgages, though the Biden administration is trying to forgive hundreds of billions of dollars in student loan balances. That's more than people owe on any other type of debt in the U.S. Well, except for mortgages.
But I mean, isn't that, like, you see what I'm saying? Like, if you just say, "Hey, erase this debt," okay. I mean, I get it, but you do understand that has to come from somewhere.
Right.
It's not just them
It's not
going,
air debt.
yeah.
That is both.
It doesn't though, because it's already paid. That's what kills me every time about this argument. It's already paid. It's not going anywhere. What you're talking about is we're going to lose the income. But as we discussed, the income is less than the total debt, and the debt keeps growing. So it's an endless pit, just sucking money. But the debt is already paid. It's already paid for. On the balance sheet, it's already paid. Right? It's like, this is what it is. Lacey goes to college. She spends $10,000. I pay off her college, and I say, Lacey, you owe me the $10,000. Right? Now, if at some point, a year later, I go, you know what, Lacey, forget it. You're forgiven. I don't care about the debt anymore. Did I lose money that year? No. Did I lose money overall? Yeah, but I lost it the year prior. I'm not losing it today. It's not coming out of anything. I've already paid it.
Right.
It's already been paid. That's what I mean. They're not grasping this.
Right. For your intents and purposes, it was already gone.
Yeah, it's already gone. Now,
You already don't have it.
right. Now, let's say, for example, you're paying me back, but let's say for you to pay me back, let's say I have to pay for shipping for the cash or something, right? So it costs me more. So I just say, fuck it. You're forgiven. right? That would be a more accurate. Well, see, did I lose $10,000? Well, yeah, a year ago. Yeah. Did I lose it today? No, I already paid it.
Right.
It's already gone. I mean, that's the difference. They're not getting the. Plus, it would cost me more to collect it. So what's the point? You know, that's the thing that, but they've thought this through. Remember, we didn't think it through. They did. I want you to remember that, Lacey. You remember?
Apparently they thought this through.
They thought it through.
That is federal and private together.
Okay, so that's all of it.
Yeah.
1.75 trillion.
Click on that so we can see what it says there. It says on average. It says cost of college has steadily increased over the last 30 years. In that time frame, tuition costs at public 4-year colleges grew from $4,160 to $10,740, and from $19,360 to $38,070.
It's crazy.
At private nonprofit institutions, adjusted for inflation. All costs have risen. So has the need for student loans and other forms of financial aid. Imagine if you're a person that makes $100,000 a year and your kid is going to school and it costs $38,000 a year, and then your kid gets out and they get a $50,000 a year job and you realize they're never going to pay this back.
It's insane. It's what they're doing. It is.
It says 92% of all student debt are federal student loans. The remaining amount is private student loans.
Okay, so it's a trillion. It's a trillion plus.
Yeah.
That's a lot, dude.
It's a lot.
1.7.
And so how much have we spent on Ukraine, and how much are we going to spend on Ukraine? But here's the thing. Like, if you forgave that debt, wouldn't that spark the economy? Wouldn't, like, if people have more money, the thing about when people have more money, people spend more money. When people spend more money, the economy does better. If people are straddled with student loan debt, I got to think that somehow or another cripples the economy.
I don't think you're wrong in theory about that.
Yeah.
Whoa. That was actually a good thought. It was a coherent thought out of nowhere.
And yeah, you know what? That is absolutely true. I mean, think about it. It's just human nature. If you have more money available to you, that doesn't have to go out for this one big ginormous bill. You can spend more in lots of ways. You can invest more. You can spend more. You can have more dinners out. You can take more vacations. You can do all sorts of things.
Well, let's think about it from the logical, because he's making the taxpayer argument. Tom is, right, that the taxpayers are going to have to cover all this, and it's not fair. Which is the old racist thing from the, what was it, the antebellum South, right? Why are you paying for all these black kids to go to school? Because their parents aren't paying taxes? Yeah, because they just got out of fucking slavery. They don't have any money. Right?
Right.
But that's the same thing. Why are we paying for this? It's the whole same argument. It's the whole racist argument over and over again. And his whole thing is, well, hey, we're going to have to pay all this, and it's not fair, and nah. And I'm telling you right now, we're already paying on it. I mean, we're paying more and more and more every year because it's a bigger and bigger gaping hole of cost. And who's making all the money? The loan servicing companies. Not the students. Not the government. The loan servicing companies. It's almost like a scam when you think about it. There's no need for it. It's like having to, okay, I need new tires for my car, but I have to pay Ted down the street in order to even get in to talk to the mechanic to put new tires on my car. Why the fuck am I paying Ted? There's no point. I should just be able to go to the mechanic and say, can I get new tires? And I'll pay you directly. Right? Why does Ted get a commission? Just for being Ted. Right? But that's the whole thing that they're not getting. And the other thing that's so funny about this is, what was my thought? It's a really simple concept at the end of the day. Right now, we're losing money every year on student loans, tax money every year on student loans. But, as Joe Rogan just pointed out, if we forgave them, these people would now start making more, netting more money, and they'd be paying more in tax. And it would bolster the economy, which means businesses would be making more money and they'd be paying more in tax. So the government would net more money. So we have two scenarios. One, we're losing money. Two, we forgive the tax, or we forgive the student debt, and we start making more money. What do you want to do? Do you want to lose money or make money?
Make money.
Once again, you're arguing form over substance. Oh, it's not fair to the other taxpayers. Yeah, but you know what's more fair to the other taxpayers? Making more fucking money.
Right. Everybody wins there.
Right? Form over substance. That's the whole fucking argument. Anyway, we'll wrap this up real quick and then we'll finish up.
Yeah, it would seem that like you'd obviously have more to do.
Yeah.
You could do more with your money.
And it's not like you're giving people money, you're just absolving them of debt.
Which is
the
a
real
huge one.
The real problem is the whole predatory student loan situation.
Yeah.
That's a real problem. And it's also a real problem to saddle down a 17-year-old with debt that they will keep for the rest of their life.
And they hit you at that same time at the student union with your first credit card. They're like, just use this.
Ugh.
And it's got 29.9%.
Yeah.
You're like, okay,
Insane.
You don't know what the fuck you're
And you need to do it to
told.
build your credit.
Yeah.
I need to
I
build
gotta
my
have
credit.
this. Yeah. And
I'm gonna buy a car.
You're paying $26 a month for a coffee you bought.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. It is crazy.
Yeah, it's the whole thing is insane, but it's insane that we do it to kids because, you know, kids don't have a sense of the future. They just don't. They've only been alive for 18 years. 18 years is not enough time to figure out what kind of debt you're going to be in when you're 70.
Don't you wonder too why when we're in school, and it's still not a thing when kids are in school, we don't like really teach them about money? Like you don't learn shit about money.
You don't learn shit.
Yeah, I'm a little bored of this conversation, but that's true. I mean, yeah.
That is true. That is true.
But you know, they
here and there, some people teach like elective courses about it, but there's nothing that's like really mandated, which is kind of a shame.
My problem though is that's a bigger issue where we've just cut public schools so much. I mean,
it's true.
There are schools that don't have music programs or theater programs or basketball or baseball or football or anything. They don't have the money. They don't have the equipment. They have none of that.
You have schools where the teachers have to buy the paper.
Right. But then you have like rich schools like the one I went to where we had our own pool. We had a full-size theater on the grounds.
Right.
You know, but I went to some of the other, I saw some of the other schools and they didn't have shit. It was just a building. They didn't have computers. They were still doing things out of, paperback books. I mean, yeah, it's ridiculous. The problem is we've cut education so much. And I think the thing they're missing here is that, look, any way you spin this, I mean, one, I would argue it's more profitable to just get rid of the student loans. And furthermore, it's more profitable for everybody involved and everybody who has loans. But not just that, it's better for the country if we just fund this shit. Because these are the same guys, they're bitching about Ukraine and what we're doing there, and they're bitching about, the Chinese are so much tougher than us, and the Russians are so much tougher than us, and it's like, yeah, but if we had better schools, we'd be kicking their ass. Like, I don't know, in the 80s and 90s and the 70s, when we were fucking paying for all that shit.
Right.
That would be my argument. But anyway. Remember, kids, do not argue form over substance. Substance over form. Always substance over form.
That's definitely the thing you should walk away from this episode.
Right.
Absolutely.
Duncan's lesson for the day. So you have anything else you want to add to that, or?
No, I'm completely with you there, honestly. Yeah, clearly they thought it out.
Yeah, I love that. Well, this is the thing. They don't think it out.
But
But I did,
which
and I totally,
loans are we talking about?
I totally thought it out. Now I'm asking a bunch of like open-ended questions because I thought it out and literally did the thinking. Like,
Right.
did you do the second part, which is the research, buddy? I mean, I've had interesting thoughts too, but they turned out to be bullshit.
Occasionally that happens.
Yeah. Sometimes you had a little too much to drink, or somebody smoked a little too much, and then you're like, I'm a genius, and then you wake up the next morning, you're like, that was stupid.
You're like, or I'm an idiot.
Yep. But there we go. Well, anyway, where can everybody catch you, Lace, going forward?
All right, as